The ship came out of the dark void of space like a shadow breaking into light. Its silver body glowed as the blue planet below filled the windows. Earth, the humans' home. To the galaxy, it was not just a planet. It was a legend. They called it a Deathworld. Inside the ship, dozens of young alien students pressed close to the glass. Their eyes widened, their voices overlapping with excitement. For them, this was not only a trip. It was a test, a story they would tell for the rest of their lives. Few outsiders ever set foot on Earth. Even fewer left unchanged. At the front of the observation deck stood their teacher. His robes shimmered with soft light, but his face carried only shadows. His hands were clasped tightly behind his back, yet the tremble in his fingers betrayed him. His eyes locked on the blue and green world, and his voice came slow, heavy, and sharp. "Do not trust what you see," he told them. "The oceans look calm, the forests look rich, the clouds look soft. But this world is alive with danger. It is not like our homeworlds. Here, everything wants to grow, to fight, to survive. Even the smallest insect can kill. This is why Earth is named the Deathworld." The students fell quiet. Their young minds were filled with questions, but the weight of his words pressed on them. One finally whispered, "If it is so deadly, why bring us here at all?" The teacher turned. His gaze was hard, his voice steady, though his shoulders were stiff. "Because you must understand, the humans are children of this world. They were shaped by its storms, its beasts, its hunger. To know the humans, you must know the soil that forged them. But I warn you," his lips tightened, "I will not step outside this ship with you. I have seen Earth once. I will never risk it again." The students froze in disbelief. Their teacher, wise and respected, afraid? He had traveled the galaxy, faced dangers they could not imagine. Yet here he stood unwilling to set foot on the very world they were meant to study. Fear spread among them, thin and sharp as ice. The ship began to descend. The blue planet grew larger and larger, filling the windows. Oceans spread wide like endless mirrors. Continents rose with mountains jagged like teeth. Clouds drifted in vast armies, their shadows crawling across the land. To the students, it was beautiful and terrifying all at once. The engines howled as they broke into the atmosphere. Fire licked across the ship's hull, painting the sky in streaks of orange. The students clutched their seats as gravity pulled hard, heavier than anything they had known before. Their chests felt tight, their limbs heavy. Even breathing seemed like a challenge. The teacher's voice cut through the roar. "Feel it. This is only the air and weight of Earth. Already it crushes you. Imagine what its people endure every day of their lives." The ship broke through the clouds. Below stretched forests older than empires, rivers shining like blades of glass, and plains crawling with creatures large and small. Thunder rolled in the distance. Lightning split the sky. "Is it always like this?" one student gasped. The teacher did not answer. His silence said more than words could. The ship slowed, lowering itself toward a clearing between massive trees. Branches shook in the wind, leaves dancing wildly. Birds scattered at the sound of the landing thrusters, their wings flashing as they vanished into the clouds. With a final hiss, the ship touched the ground. The engines quieted, leaving only the alien music of Earth, the call of unseen animals, the whisper of the wind, the rustle of countless lives. The students sat frozen, their hearts beating fast. For the first time, they were not protected by the void of space. They were here, on Earth. The doors of the landing bay slid open, letting in air thick and heavy, full of scents unknown to them. Wet soil, green leaves, distant smoke. Their suits adjusted, alarms blinking with warnings. Toxic spores detected, bacteria detected, gravity stress detected. Every signal was a reminder of how deadly this world could be. "Teacher," one brave student asked, "are we really safe?" The old alien stood at the edge of the deck, his eyes never leaving the forest beyond. His voice was low, filled with memory. "Safe? No, not here. Never here." He stepped back into the shadows. "Remember my warning. Watch everything. Trust nothing." and above all, respect the humans. For this world is theirs, and it made them what they are. The students looked at each other, their breaths quick, their eyes wide. Fear and wonder twisted inside their young hearts. Slowly, the first stepped toward the open bay, staring into the wild green world waiting beyond. Earth was beautiful. Earth was alive. But Earth was not kind. Their field trip had only just begun. The landing bay doors stayed open, letting the air of Earth creep inside the ship. It was heavy, thick, and strange. The students stood in silence, staring at the glowing forest beyond. Their hearts beat faster. For the first time, they were not just looking at Earth from the safety of space. They were about to step into it. The teacher remained behind, standing near the control panel. His voice carried through the comms, sharp and filled with warning. Be careful. Every breath, every step here has weight. Do not forget. This world is not made for you. The first student, a thin and nervous figure with silver skin, stepped forward. His boots touched the soil of Earth. The ground felt alive beneath him, damp and uneven, full of small movements. Tiny insects scattered away from his steps, crawling into the grass. He flinched, his instincts telling him to retreat, but pride forced him to stand still. The others followed, one by one. Their suits hissed softly as filters worked to keep out pollen and bacteria. The students whispered to each other through comms, their voices hushed as if they had entered a sacred place. The forest stretched before them, tall trees rising higher than the towers of their cities. Leaves shook in the wind, creating waves of green that seemed endless. The air was filled with sounds, the call of birds, the distant roar of water, the hum of countless unseen creatures. It is loud, one student said, covering her ears. It is alive, another whispered, wide-eyed. The ground trembled faintly as something large moved far away, hidden in the trees. The students froze, their suits alerting them with faint warnings. The teacher's voice snapped through their comms. Stay calm. Do not run. Earth is filled with predators. Panic will only draw them closer. The students tried to steady themselves, yet their eyes darted to every shadow, every sudden sound. Even the rustle of leaves felt dangerous. Then came the first true test. A flock of birds erupted from the branches above, their wings beating like drums. The sudden movement made several students scream, stumbling back toward the ship. One nearly fell, but another grabbed his arm just in time. The teacher's voice was harsh. Control yourselves. They are only birds. But remember, what is harmless to them may still kill you. Even their smallest creature carries power. The students steadied their breaths, ashamed of their fear. Yet deep inside, they knew the teacher was right. The air itself seemed thick with challenge. They walked slowly, their boots sinking into the soft earth. The soil clung to them, heavy and wet, unlike the clean metal of their ship. They passed roots as thick as their arms, plants with thorns sharper than knives, and flowers that released strange scents into the air. Some were sweet, others bitter, some so strong they burned in their noses. One student reached out to touch a glowing flower. At once, the teacher shouted, "Do not touch. Many plants here are poison. Some kill slowly, others quickly. Look, but do not trust." The student pulled back his hand, trembling. The flower swayed gently, as if mocking him. They walked further from the ship, scanning their surroundings. Gravity pressed down on them with every step, making their limbs heavy. Sweat formed inside their suits, a discomfort none of them expected. "Is this what humans endure every day?" one student asked. "Yes," the teacher answered coldly from the ship. "And that is why they are feared. Their bodies learned to fight against this world from birth. To them, this gravity, this air, this noise, it is nothing." The students felt a mix of awe and unease. To live here seemed impossible. Yet humans had not only survived. They had built cities, traveled to the stars, and even dared to challenge the galaxy. As they walked, they saw movement ahead. A group of humans stood near the forest's edge. They were simple villagers, men, women, and children. They carried tools, not weapons. Their faces were open, curious, and smiling. They waved at the aliens. The students froze, their breath caught in their throats. The teacher's voice was sharp with alarm. Do not approach them. Do not eat what they give you. Do not trust their smiles. Remember, they are predators. Yet the humans stepped closer, slowly, carefully, showing no threat. One human child held out a piece of fruit, bright and red. The students stared at it, torn between fear and wonder. They look kind, one whispered. The teacher's voice cut through their hope like a blade. Kind? Perhaps. But never forget where you are. This is Earth. Nothing here is safe. Not even them. The students looked at the humans again. The villagers laughed gently, speaking words the aliens could not understand. The fruit still waited in the child's hand. The students' hearts raced. Was this kindness? Or was this the first test of the Deathworld? The forest wind blew hard, carrying the strange scent of earth across the clearing. The students stood trapped between fear of the teacher's warning and the pull of curiosity that burned inside them. Their first impression of Earth was clear. It was not simply dangerous, and it was not simply beautiful. It was both, a world of risk and wonder, and the humans, standing there with open hands, were the greatest mystery of all. The students stood frozen at the edge of the clearing. Before them were the humans, strange creatures of flesh and bone, taller and stronger than they had expected. Their skin came in many shades, their hair long or short, their eyes sharp with curiosity. Yet none of them carried weapons. Instead, they smiled, waved, and spoke words the aliens' translators struggled to understand. One small human child stepped forward. In her tiny hands, she held a piece of bright red fruit. Her smile was warm, fearless. She raised the fruit as an offering. Inside their helmets, the alien students whispered nervously. Is it a trap? One asked. Maybe poison, another replied. The teacher's voice cut across their comms, sharp and cold. Do not take it. Humans are predators. They hide danger behind kindness. Step back. But the students did not move. Their eyes stayed locked on the child. There was no fear in her face. Only curiosity. Only kindness. The child's father stepped closer. He carried nothing but a wooden tool, its edge dull, its purpose harmless. He spoke slowly, carefully, his voice deep and steady. The translator struggled, then finally produced words. Welcome, friends. The words struck the students like a spark. Friends. They had expected hostility, but these humans called them friends. One brave student, younger than most, stepped forward. His hands shook, but he bowed slightly, copying a gesture he had studied in human records. The humans' eyes lit up. They laughed. Not a cruel laugh, but a warm one. The father bowed in return. The teacher's voice thundered in their ears. Step back. You do not understand what you are doing. But the students ignored him. For the first time, they saw humans not as monsters, but as people. The child offered the fruit again. The brave student reached out. His suit gloves brushed the surface of the fruit. The sensors screamed warnings. Unknown toxins, unknown bacteria. Danger detected. He hesitated, pulling back his hand. The teacher shouted again. Fool! Even their food can kill you. Yet the child only smiled wider, as if she could not understand why they were afraid. Another human, a woman with kind eyes, stepped forward. She held out a container of water. She drank from it herself first, showing them it was safe. Then she extended it toward the aliens. The students were stunned. This was no trap. This was an invitation. But fear still wrapped around them. They remembered the teacher's warnings. Earth is a death world. Humans are predators. Nothing here is safe. Then, without warning, something moved behind the humans. From the forest, a wild dog ran out, barking loudly. Its teeth bared, its voice sharp, echoing like thunder. The students panicked. Their suits flared alarms. It's attacking, one cried. Several stumbled back, ready to run toward the ship. But the humans did not flee. The father stepped calmly between the dog and the aliens. He raised his voice, strong but not cruel. The dog paused, growled once, then backed away. With a final bark, it vanished into the trees. The humans turned back to the students, smiling again, as if nothing had happened. The students were speechless. They had seen power, control, and calm in the face of danger. The teacher, however, shouted in fury, "Do you see? Even their pets are killers. This world spawns predators in every shape and size. And still you dare to think they are safe." But the students no longer heard only fear. They had witnessed something else, something deeper. The humans were not afraid of the beast. They did not attack it, nor did they run. They faced it, calmed it, and sent it away. There was strength in that, a different kind of strength. One student whispered, almost to himself, "If this is how they live every day, maybe this is why they are strong." The others nodded slowly. Their fear remained, but it was mixed now with respect. The humans motioned for them to follow. The villagers pointed toward their small settlement visible beyond the trees. Simple houses made of wood and stone, smoke rising gently from fires. The humans beckoned, patient and calm. The students looked at each other. Should they go? Should they trust? The teacher's voice came again, low and harsh. "If you leave the safety of that clearing, if you go with them, you may never return. Do not trust them. Do not trust anything here." But curiosity burned brighter than fear. The brave student who had touched the fruit took another step forward. Then another. Soon others followed. Slowly, carefully, they began to walk toward the humans. Each step felt heavy, but also right. The humans smiled, waiting patiently. The child still held the fruit, now forgotten in her hand. She laughed. A sound so pure and light it made the forest seem less dangerous. The students did not know what would happen next. But one truth was already clear to them. The teacher's warnings had prepared them for monsters. Yet what they had found, in their first meeting, was something far more dangerous. They had found kindness. And sometimes, kindness was the greatest power of all. The aliens followed the villagers into the edge of the settlement. Wooden houses stood close together, smoke rose from fires, and the air carried the smell of cooked food. To the alien students, it was strange and unreal. Everything here was alive, too alive. Even the silence between sounds felt heavy. The humans moved slowly, making sure not to startle their guests. Some pointed to the sky, speaking in soft voices, as if trying to welcome them. Children peeked from behind doors, laughing nervously, hiding again when the aliens turned their heads. The students whispered through their comms, "They are not what I expected. They seem simple. Maybe teacher was wrong." From the ship, the teacher's voice broke in sharply. "Do not lower your guard. Death hides in smiles." Even now, they could be planning. But the students ignored him more than before. Curiosity was winning over fear. One of the younger aliens, smaller and eager, noticed movement near a house. A creature sat in the dirt. A small animal with brown fur and bright eyes. Its ears stood tall, its tail wagged quickly. It looked harmless, almost friendly. The student tilted his head. "What is that?" The translator gave one word from the humans nearby. "Dog." The dog barked, a sharp, sudden sound that made the aliens jump. The young student laughed nervously inside his helmet. He crouched down, reaching out a gloved hand toward the animal. The teacher's voice exploded through the comms. "Stop! Do not touch it!" But the warning came too late. The dog leapt forward, sniffing the alien's suit. Then it barked again, louder this time. The alien yelped, stumbling back. His foot caught on a stone and he crashed into the dirt. Instant chaos followed. The dog barked wildly, circling, its sharp teeth flashing in the light. The alien scrambled to his feet, heart racing, alarm screaming inside his helmet. Impact detected, contamination risk, danger detected. The other students panicked. Some stepped back toward the ship, others froze in fear. One shouted, "It's attacking! It's attacking!" But the humans did not panic. The child from earlier rushed forward, grabbing the dog by its collar. She spoke quickly, her voice calm but firm. The father bent down, stroking the dog's head until it whined softly and sat still. The barking stopped. Silence returned, broken only by the aliens' ragged breathing. The teacher's voice thundered, full of fury. Do you see? Even their smallest companion is a predator. This world breeds killers in every shape. You could have died. The fallen student stood shakily, shame burning in his chest. But as he looked, he realized the humans were not laughing at him. They looked worried for him. The child gently patted the dog, then bowed her head toward the alien, as if apologizing. The alien blinked. Kindness again. Even after the chaos, kindness. Another student whispered, "It wasn't trying to kill. It was only loud." The teacher snapped, "Loud or not, it has teeth. Do not forget that." Yet something had changed in the students' minds. The small incident had shown them the truth of Earth. Danger was everywhere, yes, but so was care. The dog could have attacked, but it did not. The humans could have ignored the panic, but they helped. Slowly, the aliens' fear settled into something else, a cautious respect. The villagers motioned for them to sit near the fire. They brought bowls of food, steaming and rich with scents. The translators picked up words, eat, share, welcome. The students looked at each other, uncertain. Their scanners screamed warnings about unknown chemicals. The teacher shouted again, his voice desperate now. Do not eat it. Their food will rot your blood. Do not trust it. But one of the braver students leaned forward. He did not take the food. Instead, he watched as the humans ate from the same bowl. Their children laughed as they chewed. No sickness, no fear, only life. The brave student whispered, "They eat it every day. They live. Maybe it is not death. Maybe it is survival." The teacher's silence stretched across the comms. He had no answer this time. The small incident with the dog had changed everything. The students now understood that Earth was not only danger. It was balance. Danger and safety, strength and gentleness, fear and kindness, all woven together. As night began to fall, the sky burned orange and red. The villagers lit fires, their faces glowing in the flickering light. The students sat close, their hearts conflicted. Fear still lived inside them, but alongside it grew something far more powerful, curiosity. One whispered softly, almost in awe, "If humans can live with such creatures, such dangers, and still smile, what else are they capable of?" The teacher, alone in the ship, listened. He closed his eyes, remembering his own first visit to Earth long ago. He whispered to himself, unheard by the students, "That is what makes them dangerous. Not the teeth, not the poisons, but the way they endure." The night passed slowly. The alien students remained close to the humans, sitting by the fire. Their helmets translated the crackle of flames, the laughter of children, and the calm voices of villagers. Fear still lived inside them, but it had softened. For the first time since leaving their ship, they began to wonder if Earth was not only a death world, but something greater. Morning came with golden light. Birds filled the sky, their wings flashing as they flew in great flocks. The air was heavy but fresh, filled with the scent of earth and smoke. The students shifted uneasily in their suits, adjusting to the gravity that still pressed on their bodies like invisible chains. The humans, however, moved easily. They lifted logs for the fire, carried water from the river, and prepared food as if the weight of this world was nothing. One human man raised a barrel almost as tall as an alien child. He balanced it on his shoulder, walking without strain. The aliens stared in silence. "Impossible," one student whispered. "How can they be so strong in this gravity?" The teacher's voice cut in from the ship, sharp and bitter. "Now you see, they are forged by this world. What breaks others, they call daily life." The villagers noticed the aliens watching. A smile passed between the humans. Then one of them motioned for the students to follow. He carried a heavy wooden beam, thick as a tree branch. With a friendly grin, he lowered it to the ground and gestured for the aliens to try. The students exchanged nervous glances. Was this a test or a trick? The teacher's warning came fast. "Do not. Their challenges are traps. They want to show you your weakness." But curiosity burned stronger than fear. One of the older alien students stepped forward. He bent to lift the beam. His arms shook. Gravity pulled hard, pressing down with merciless strength. With effort, he raised it only a few inches before dropping it. His chest heaved inside his suit. The humans did not laugh. Instead, they clapped their hands, encouraging him. Then they lifted the same beam with ease, as if to say, "This is what we can do. You two can try again." Another student, unwilling to be outdone, attempted next. She strained, muscles trembling, alarms in her suit warning of stress. She managed to lift it higher than the first student but soon dropped it with a loud thud. The humans nodded approvingly, their faces proud rather than mocking. More students tried. Some failed, some managed a little more. Each time, the humans cheered, smiling and clapping, treating the effort as victory. The teacher's voice was sharp with anger. "Fools! Do not let their smiles trick you. This is how predators work. They make you feel safe before the strike." But the students no longer believed fully. What they felt here was not a trap. It was challenge, respect, and strange warmth. Then came the true test. A human farmer picked up 2 heavy buckets filled with water. He carried them across the field with ease. Then he pointed at the aliens, offering them the same task. One of the braver students stepped forward. He gripped the handles of the buckets and lifted. His arms screamed with pain. His back bent, his legs shook, but he took one step. Then another. Sweat dripped down his forehead inside the helmet. After only a few more steps, he stumbled and dropped the buckets. The humans rushed forward, not to laugh, not to scorn, but to help. They picked up the buckets, clapped him on the shoulder, and smiled as if to say, "Well done, you tried." The student gasped for breath. He whispered into the comms, "They make it look so easy, but it feels like lifting a mountain." The teacher, silent for a long moment, finally spoke. "Now you understand why the galaxy fears them. Not because they fight, but because they endure." The students stared at the humans again. Men and women carried wood, water, and stone without complaint. Children ran and laughed in gravity that crushed alien bodies. Even the smallest tasks of human life were challenges no alien could match. And yet, there was no pride in the humans' faces, no arrogance, only patience, only the quiet strength of those who had learned long ago that survival was not a choice, but a way of life. The students sat together that evening, their bodies sore, their minds restless. They had touched the truth of Earth with their own hands. This was not simply a world of danger. It was a forge that shaped its children into something the galaxy had never fully understood. One whispered, almost in awe, "If they can endure this every day, what can they endure in war?" The question hung heavy in the air. None of them spoke again, but in their hearts they already knew the answer. The students returned to the ship as night fell again. Their bodies were heavy with exhaustion. Their suits reported muscle strain, and their minds spun with confusion. They had lifted human tools, tried human work, and failed in ways they never expected. Yet the humans had not mocked them. Instead, the villagers had encouraged them, helped them, and treated every attempt as victory. The teacher was waiting at the landing bay. His face was tight, his eyes sharp. He looked at the students, at their slumped shoulders, at the dirt still clinging to their boots. "You see now," he said bitterly. "This world crushes you. This weight is too much, its life too strong. And yet humans endure it as easily as you breathe. Do you still think they are harmless?" The students lowered their heads. Some wanted to argue, but none could deny what they had seen. One student, the youngest, dared to speak. "Teacher, they did not harm us. They smiled, they shared, they showed kindness. Why are you so afraid of them?" The teacher's jaw tightened. His silence stretched long, heavy as the gravity of Earth itself. Then slowly he spoke. "You think this fear is weakness. You are wrong. Fear is the only wisdom here." The students exchanged uneasy glances. The teacher had refused to step outside the ship since their arrival. He had watched through cameras, spoken warnings through comms, but never once touched Earth's soil again. Another student gathered courage. You call them predators. You call this a death world. But we saw humans protect us from their animals. We saw them help us when we fell. Why do you fear them so much? The teacher's eyes grew distant, as if he looked far beyond the walls of the ship. His voice dropped lower, heavy with memory. Because I have seen what happens when humans are pushed too far. The students leaned closer, waiting. Years ago, the teacher continued, I was part of a research team. We came here just as you did to study humans. We thought we were stronger. We thought their kindness was weakness. We thought their smiles were masks. So we tested them. We created hardships to see how they would react. We took away their food. We caged some of their animals. We frightened their children. His hands trembled now, though his voice stayed steady. Any other species would have surrendered, begged, or broken. But not humans. They did not cry. They did not run. They endured. And when endurance was not enough, the teacher's eyes darkened. They fought, not with weapons we feared, but with determination no weapon could break. They fought the storms, the hunger, and us, and they did not stop until we left. That day I learned what the galaxy refuses to admit. Humans are dangerous not because they kill, but because they refuse to die. The students listened in silence, their hearts pounding. The teacher's voice was not filled with hatred, but with something colder, memory. One whispered, But teacher, we saw kindness. We saw laughter. Is that danger too? The teacher's mouth curved into a grim line. Yes, because kindness makes them stronger. They fight for each other. They carry each other. Alone, one human is powerful. Together, they are unstoppable. That is why I will never step on this soil again. This world shapes monsters and miracles. And the humans, they are both. The words cut deep into the students. Fear returned, curling inside their chests. Yet alongside fear came awe. They remembered the humans' easy strength, their calm control, their laughter even under weight that crushed alien bodies. Monsters and miracles, both in the same form. Outside, the humans sang around their fires. The strange music floated through the night, soft yet powerful, reaching even the ship. The students heard it through the hull, a sound that carried no threat, only life. The teacher turned away, his shoulders stiff. Mark my words. Respect them. Fear them. Never forget what this world has shown you. Humans survive because Earth itself tried to kill them every day. And when the galaxy gives them the same trials, they will not break. They will rise. The students looked at each other, their minds filled with questions. Some wanted to believe in the kindness they had seen. Others felt the chill of the teacher's memory. But all of them now understood one truth. The teacher's fear was not madness. It was survival. And still, somewhere deep inside, curiosity whispered louder than fear. What would humans become if they ever chose not only to endure, but to fight? The last day of the field trip arrived with a sky painted in fire. The sun rose over the forests and rivers, throwing golden light across the land. The students stood near the ship, their suits scarred with dirt, their hearts heavy with thoughts. They had seen Earth, touched its soil, felt its weight, and faced its creatures. But most of all, they had seen the humans. The villagers gathered to say goodbye. Men, women, and children waved their hands, offering food, water, and smiles. The dog barked once, not in anger, but in farewell. The humans were simple in their tools, fragile in their flesh. Yet there was something inside them that no scanner could measure. The students looked at them with mixed feelings: fear, awe, and respect. One whispered through the comms, "They should not be so strong, and yet they are." Another added, "If they can survive here, they can survive anywhere." The teacher listened from inside the ship, silent at first. Then his voice came low and steady. "You understand now, don't you? You feel it, even if you cannot name it." The students turned toward the ship. They had expected answers, but the teacher gave them only riddles. "Teacher," one student asked, "why does the galaxy fear them? They are kind. They welcomed us. They did not harm us. The teacher stepped forward into the light, though still he did not cross the threshold of the ship. His eyes glimmered with memory. Because their kindness is not weakness, he said. It is strength. You saw it with your own eyes. They work together. They protect each other. Even when danger comes, they stand, they endure. And when pushed too far, he paused, his voice heavy. They rise higher than anyone else. The students went quiet. The weight of his words pressed down harder than Earth's gravity. The villagers approached closer. A human man bowed his head respectfully. The translator whispered, "Safe travels, friends." The words were simple, but they struck deep. The students bowed back, their gestures awkward but heartfelt. In that moment, they realized the humans had never once treated them as prey or threat. The humans had treated them as equals. The youngest student spoke softly into the comms. Maybe the galaxy fears them not because they are killers, but because they are survivors. The teacher's face tightened. You are correct. That is the final lesson. Do not mistake survival for something small. It is the greatest weapon in the galaxy, and humans carry it in their blood. The ship engines roared to life, pulling dust into the air. The villagers stepped back, still smiling, still waving. The child who had first offered fruit lifted her hand high, her small voice lost in the thunder of the engines. The students watched through the glass as Earth fell away beneath them. The forests turned to seas of green, the rivers to silver threads, the mountains to jagged scars on the land. The blue planet grew smaller, yet it seemed larger in their minds than any world they had seen before. Inside the ship, silence filled the cabin. Each student sat in thought, replaying the days they had spent here. The dog's bark, the heavy buckets, the warm laughter, the endless strength hidden in simple lives. Finally, one spoke. Teacher, what will happen if the humans leave this world? If they go deeper into the galaxy? The teacher closed his eyes. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Then the galaxy will change forever, because nothing will stop them. Not storms, not hunger, not war. They will endure. They will spread. And in the end, they will outlast us all. No one argued. No one laughed. They knew it was true. As the ship broke free into the stars, the students looked back one last time. Earth was only a point of light now, but to them it was more than a planet. It was a warning, a mystery, and a promise. The final lesson was clear. Humans were not dangerous because they were violent. They were dangerous because nothing could break them. The teacher turned away from the window, his voice carrying the weight of truth. Remember this day, remember this world, and remember them, for if the galaxy ever forgets, it will learn again, too late, why Earth is called the Deathworld. The students nodded silently. In their hearts, fear remained. But alongside fear grew something else, respect. And respect, once planted, never dies. The ship vanished into the dark, leaving Earth behind. But Earth would never leave them.